Here we go. Any vehicle-based trip always starts with a boarding of the Spirit of Tasmania when you're heading from the mainland across to Tassie. We are doing a day sail this time. It's not my preferred option. I'd rather sail at night. I find the day sail pretty arduous and boring. There's not a lot to do on the boat. So if you've got kids, or just even if you don't have kids, it's a lot of time to kill. There's not much to do. You can eat, there's a restaurant, there's places you can get snacks, 2 movie theatres, so they usually show a couple of movies throughout the sailing. You can hop out on the deck, have a look around, but once you leave the bay, to be honest, there's not much going on. If you sail at night, I'd highly recommend booking a room. The chairs, the recliners that you can book are probably going to be the worst night's sleep you've ever had. I've done that before and instantly regretted it. It was a terrible night's sleep. If you're over probably 5.5 foot tall, you don't have any room to stretch your legs out, so you end up sitting in an upright position, not reclined. And this footage you're watching now is my son. A bit later in the day, we didn't have much to do, so I gave him the camera and he just went for a wander around. I just told him to film whatever he likes. And yeah, as you can see, there's a shop, restaurant, a few bars, so not a lot going on. So Saturday night when we left the boat, we made our way across towards St Helens, where we met up with the rest of the group at South Cosy Corner Campground. As you can see, it's a beautiful spot. The beach was absolutely amazing. Nice white sands, beautiful clear water. We went for a swim. It was pretty chilly. Once we packed up camp after our swim, we made our way down the east coast to Hobart. It's 5 a.m. Monday morning, and we're trying to get ready for our bushwalk into Lake Rhona. Just organising the gear. Bushwalking's not normally one of our usual 4-wheel drive activities. Definitely not on an overnighter, so yeah, trying to be organised and not forget anything at the same time. It's all got to fit in that little backpack. Oh! Slippery old log in freezing cold water. There was no one who was keen to fall in with a backpack on.
Nah, it's right. Thanks. I'll just do it as a selfie.
in typical Tassie fashion, the walk had amazing scenery. Everywhere you looked, there was stunning hills, beautiful forests. It was just picturesque the whole way. But one thing that we didn't read about in any of the walk descriptions was that the valley is incredibly wet and waterlogged, and it made the going quite slow. Most of the time we were sinking up to our knees in water and mud. The tracks were all quite overgrown. We had 3 kids with us, so it was a lot slower going than we planned, and we never ended up making it to Lake Rhona. The furthest we got was to this campsite that we're coming into now. Luckily, this little oasis was on the walk, because otherwise we would have had nowhere to camp. There was no flat ground, no dry ground prior to hitting this spot. So when we came through here and came into view of this beautiful green grassy area, after I think nearly 6 or 7 hours of walking, we were pretty happy to dump the backpacks and set up camp. It was like an oasis when we got there. We spent one night here. We had 2 of our group try to push onto Lake Rhona the following morning. They walked for another 2.5 to 3 hours and then came across another walker who was coming back from Lake Rhona, who informed them that they were still 2 to 3 hours away from reaching the final destination. So they decided to turn around and head back and walk back out with us. It was, I guess, harder than we expected. All our research didn't indicate that the trip would be this slow going. Most literature said 5 to 7 hours to get in there. We would have ended up pushing 10 or 11 hours to make it in at the rate we were doing. So whilst we had to cut the walk short, we did enjoy it. In hindsight, we went through some pretty amazing country, and I think it'll be in everyone's memories, not for the destination we reached, but just the fact that it was a good, tough walk.
Keep on going, Weet-bix. Slow as that, like there's no tomorrow.
10 seconds in. Yeah. 25 seconds to go.
Slow it.
15. 10.
No.
I'm getting so nervous about losing that one.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now you have to.
Spit it, mate.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Hey.
Burns there. You're worried about when you come down and flattens out, you're just like, legs back on the back, yeah.
So after our fatiguing bushwalk, we headed to Zeehan to base ourselves for some exploring around the area where you've got good access to the Henty Dunes and the coastline, and also Montezuma Falls track and Ring River track. We had a great fun few days in the area. The Henty Dunes gave everyone a good opportunity to have a play around in the sand, work out their tyre pressures and get a feel for the driving that we don't get to experience much on the mainland.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, like there's a big hole at the top, so it's just like...
Soft. Not a chance.
The Henty Dunes are absolutely huge. We were told by a few locals that it's very easy to get lost in there, and we could see how that could happen. So we left a GPS running with a breadcrumb trail, so if we did get a bit stuck, we could always trace our steps back out. We had such a great time in there just driving around and exploring. We never saw another bike, quad bike, side by side or vehicle the whole time we were in there.
G'day guys, we've just hit the Montezuma Falls track. It's looking nice and wet, so it looks like it should be pretty good fun. We've got 3 vehicles on this part of the trip. We've got one that didn't make it. It's back in Hobart getting some parts fitted that failed. Hopefully they'll join us tomorrow. So yeah, we'll show you a few bits and pieces along the way while we do this track, and on the way back out we'll do Ring River, which should be a bit more fun.
Tasmania has a pretty rich mining history. There was a lot of prospecting back in the day. There's still remnants of that, lots of old mine shafts around the place, depending on what they were looking for. This one was on the side of the Montezuma Falls track. I'd been in there 3 or 4 times on that track now, and this is the first time I've noticed this mine shaft. So we grabbed the torches and had a walk in. The kids were quite interested in seeing what was in there. It was a pretty cool experience for them. It went into the hill, I would estimate about 40, 50 metres. So yeah, enough to make it interesting. Once we got to the end, we just turned around and headed back out. It was, yeah, pretty cool. There's meant to be quite a few of these around, but some are a bit further off the track and a little more difficult to find. This one was quite easy to see as it was just on the right hand side of the track. You basically just pull up your car and step straight into the mine. So when you're on the track, definitely keep an eye out and yeah, pop your head in and have a look. Would have been some damn hard work back in the day cutting this in by hand. With some decent rain in the weeks leading up to our trip, Montezuma Falls was looking amazing. Plenty of water flowing over, and it was an absolutely magic spot to pull up for a stop.
Everything you said they already knew, more or less.
Well, here's something that you didn't know. 2 of those special atomic bombs haven't gone off.
One thing you can count on in Tassie is a lot of water and a lot of mud on the tracks. Can be fun, but it's pretty hard on the vehicles and they do need a lot of maintenance after.
Whenever you're ready, Serge. Yeah, mate, good to go. Yep, you'll have no problem driving it, just cruise on through.
Here we are descending into the Ring River. As you drop down into the river, you'll see over on your left what looks like a track when you enter the river. It's actually just an open area that doesn't go anywhere. You need to aim for the second track, which is just out of sight on your left. So as you'll see in the video, I took the incorrect one first time, then had to reverse back into the river and head a little bit further upstream to the correct part of the track.
Yeah, it sure is. That's why I can't go to the river. You're right. But that sign said the river could be dangerous.
Yeah, it can be when it rains, it floods.
Oh, because it goes really high.
Yep.
And really rough.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
You can over the left coming into this, mate. I think I'm fucked this up.
Wait, should you tell me?
Righto, mate.
Yeah, well, once we check it out. Let's get out of here though before we fill up with water.
I see some of that yucky foam.
When you get
Here you can see the 105 series Land Cruiser crossing Ring River. Obviously it's not too deep, it's got a firm rocky base. It is one to watch out for after heavy rains though, because apparently the river can rise quite quickly and has been known to take a car or two.
No, Spud, you gotta no. Yeah, no. Yeah, break your pan.
scoop it up.
Okay. Now I'll show you how to do it.
Just share, Lucas.
So that concludes our Montezuma Falls track and Ring River Drive. Overall, it was easy going, didn't have any difficulty or trouble. It can be a lot tougher when it's wet though, so check the weather before you head in.